I love this school, so I remember sitting in those chairs and getting this kind of workshop, and I loved it, so it was really beautiful to be here and give them a little bit of what I've learned.
When we were here, we had an opportunity to have a talk back with Terrell McCraney, and the things that he's doing right now in the industry are wonderful, but to have that exchange and that dialogue with people that are actually working in the industry is priceless, and it's priceless. So the fact that I was able to hear and give back to the students is awesome.
You know, thank you to the entire New World theater staff and the staff in general that helped the school run. Thank you for all the teachers that believed in me. I was not the best student, but you know, people saw that there was hope here, and I'm glad that their investment came into fruition.
Hello. Welcome to your final arts block of the year. And we have a special arts block today. We are honored to have 3 of New World School of the Arts theater alumni from the college. We have Edson Jean. We have Joshua Jean-Baptiste. And we have Corina Ramirez. They are stars, writers, creators, producers.
New Worlders.
Different hats. New Worlders of a new web series called Grown. And before we see a clip of it, tell us about Grown. What is Grown about? What are we going to see?
Well, Grown is a series that we've been creating for quite some time now. It follows 2 Haitian Americans that are trying to figure out how to be a man in the real Miami. And both of their dynamics are very different. So it's loosely based off of Edson and I's life when we first met in college, and we used some of our own life elements as well. And then it started off as kind of like a fun thing about dating, but then we got a little deeper and started involving topics such as self-identity, fatherlessness, and really trying to figure out how to be an adult in this city. So that kind of gives a frame of what that is about.
Yeah. And what are we going to see? We're going to show a clip. We're going to have time. I'll ask some questions. I have plenty of time for you guys to ask questions as well of them. But before we do that, we want to see a clip of the show.
Yeah, we wanted you guys to see a clip. And I just want to give a note that originally this started out as a web series, but then we were able to move it on to a full-fledged 20 to 30-minute dramedy, half-hour show. Yeah, so now this is the full version of that. That's it, all right, let's work.
Yep, let's do it.
Move it with me.
What? That's right. You need to go to school. That's what your mother wants.
Be a man. You need to work.
You need a man up. I mean, you've been staying with your moms for how long?
Yo, what's up? I'm West. Women, they come through, you gotta have them hooked, dog.
If I had to pick between being a gangster and a gentleman, my pick would be the latter.
Get out your comfort zone, bro. Lighten up, live a little.
Namaste, motherfuckers. Have you had that awkward look in each other's eyes for too long moment yet?
We're just friends.
Both.
I've been living in a box for years now. Now it's like a circle.
It's a spiral.
Oh, God. You like this girl? I do. She's electric.
Don't think, don't analyze, just go.
As soon as I wasn't afraid to own my identity, the world accepted me.
I'm a real nigga. Come on, like, compete it, man.
I'm a real nigga. I'm a real nigga.
I'm a real nigga.
All right, let's get into some questions. I'm going to start with a kind of general-ish one. So you guys wear a lot of different hats, right? You're directing, you're writing, literal and figuratively, writing, producing, editing. What are some of the challenges of wearing all those different hats?
Well, we weren't editing, thank God. But
Did you say story editing?
Story editing.
story
Yeah.
editing, yeah, to that extent. But yeah, I think it's just, we just learned that from New World, being a fighter and just putting, just picking up the weight, And so we did it seamlessly, but people around us that didn't really come from that training were always like, yo, y'all doing a lot. And we're just kind of like, yeah, that's the way it is.
Yeah, another day at New World, but
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in just the dynamic between us, like because we kind of have that language, like we're literally just passing the ball, and I think that one thing is great is our chemistry is like we really have an idea of, you know, who does what, and it's like this, you know, continuing ball of pass the responsibility, you know? Yeah.
What has your journey been like since leaving New World? What is?
It's had a lot of ups and downs, for sure.
Not easy.
Not easy. This is a career we all know that is filled with a lot of challenges. The three of us have been really lucky enough to be able to work professionally pretty much straight out of school. And on the side, we would write this and work for this and hope that it would happen someday, you know, while each of us would pursue, you know, Josh was writing plays and acting, and Edson was, as some of you may or may not know, in a lot of movies and television shows. And the same for me.
So are you.
The same for me in the Latin world, in the Latin industry, because I am bilingual. The three of us had in common that we decided to stay right after college. A lot of our classmates went straight to LA or New York, but we wanted to take advantage of what we had here in Miami and sort of hone that, and also because we wanted to tell stories that had the Miami palette on there. So staying here helped us all be able to work on our individual careers and also still work together in writing plays and writing this and etc.
Yeah, like I picked up an office job and I was just like at work, it was super chill. I'm like nobody's checking up. Great, okay, cool, let me just write. So like you kind of finesse it however you can.
Yeah.
Find your own way, yeah.
The journey right after it was exciting is the word I would use, because when I got out of New World, I told myself I wasn't gonna work a 9 to 5. Nothing wrong with 9 to 5s, but just for me, I just didn't like the idea of like having a plan B or anything like that. So I was like, if I can't pay the bills with my craft, then figure it out. So that throwing myself off the cliff forced me to really just focus on just that. You know, like there wasn't anything else taking away my time like a 9 to 5. Like I was either writing, I was either working on scenes, going to auditions, just finding opportunities to create opportunities. And so it's just been that constantly just using the work that you're creating to give you the opportunity. And so that's been very rewarding in like the process since leaving school. Not easy, but yeah.
To add to that, like if there's one constant thing that we all just kind of kept doing was we kept doing things for no reason. And I don't want to say no reason, but
creating.
Just creating for the sake of creating. And through that, it really got not only us better at writing, directing, acting, and all that, but you know, the more serious and the more better you get at it, all of a sudden you just start seeing opportunities. I mean, I know for me personally, like I didn't think I was going to be much of a writer, but you know, when I found out that you know the city gives like $5,000 grants to produce work, and I was like, what? So, you know, I was like, well, I guess I got to learn how to write. So, you know, it just kind of got in there. And, you know, that's one consistent thing that's been, we just keep creating, and without any, you know, not to be a star or anything, but just for the sake of getting better at the craft.
How did this idea of Grown, where did it grow from?
Where did it
grow from? Well, I moved in with Edson my sophomore year. And, you know, ain't a lot of any Haitians in here? Hey. Oh, we got a bunch of those. All right. Well, as you can see, it's rather scarce. So when I met him, I was like, you Haitian? Yo, hey! And we, you know, we kind of just clicked. We ended up moving in together, and, you know, I would like go out, you know, our dynamic was very different. And, you know, the question came up, what's up with you and the ladies? And I was like, I don't know how to talk to the ladies. And then it slowly began, you know, he would set me up on these dates, they would fail in the most artful way. And, you know, after a while, I would come back with funny stories, and he's like, dude, you should write this stuff down. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no. You need to write this stuff down. And that kind of like built the skeleton for the show. But then, you know, slowly by slowly, we started adding more layers, and it started getting a bit more substantive, aside from just, you know, this guy goes on dates. But, you know, what are the effects of men that have been fatherless and how they guide each other? So it's almost as if like my idea of being a man is different from your idea of being a man, but we're still trying to help each other be a man. But it's like, how do you know how to be a man? So kind of the implications of not really having too much male guidance as you get older, and that exchange.
So what's your plan?
Please, Wes.
So fucking polite.
Yeah, because my mother did a damn good job.
Yeah, I mean, I respect her for that, but she wasn't no pushover.
You're no one to give advice.
You smashing anything right now?
Smash?
Bagging dimes, fucking hoes, the birds and the bees, nigga, you know. You gay?
No.
I mean, it's cool.
What does this have to do with anything?
Look, man, I know I got my own shit to deal with, but at least I own my own shit.
We were planning on doing it by ourselves. You know, we were just gonna do it, figuring out how to do it, but fortunately.
With our $20 each that we had.
Yeah, yeah, we had $20 in a bag of chips. And fortunately, Andrew Heavy, a good, one of our colleagues, he shot us an email, was like, you guys should apply for this thing called Project Greenlight. And then we kind of just did it on a whim, and then we won.
Yeah.
But we want it to, kind of like Edson said earlier, to be a digital series, but then slowly by slowly, the interest was garnered, then, you know.
Not even slowly by slowly. So what he mentioned before, we were creating for the sake of creating. So when we won this web series, we pitched an idea for a web series, but we had a whole show written because we were just writing because we wanted to tell this story. So when they met us over Skype, we were like, yeah, we know y'all want a web series, but look at all these scripts. And they were like, oh, there's a full show here. And then that's when Ben Affleck wanted to fly us over there. And we were like, all right, cool. Sure. So then that's when it transitioned from just being a short form digital project into a full long form project.
Yeah, after that, the engine.
But that was the trajectory, yeah.
Kind of revved up.
Yeah.
I have more questions for you, but I want to make sure we have plenty of time to ask questions. You guys can ask some questions. So if you have a question, please walk down because we want to get this. This is recording. You have to come down to the stage to ask a question. So who has a question that would like to come down? Come on down, Kimberly.
How long have you guys been developing the ideas? I mean, you answered that already, but I wrote my questions down.
Hey,
so
ask 'em.
okay. Before submitting in 2016, when you did for Project Greenlight.
Bring that second. Sorry.
Well, how long have
long,
we been
yeah.
writing before we submitted?
Like
5
4
years? 4 or 5 years?
Damn, really?
Yeah. So we graduated in 2011. 13. So
we
like
really-
since 2013.
Since 2013.
Wow.
So
Takes
like
a while.
4 years?
That's great.
No,
Yeah.
it's 3 years.
Ain't no 3 years.
4
4
years.
and a half years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second part is, what were some of the career goals you guys had after New World, and how have you reached those, and how has it changed?
Oh, those
Damn.
are good ones.
I'll go. Career goals. Well, I definitely wanted to be working as an artist, right? That was a career goal. And that's happening, so that's good. Then I definitely wanted to tell my own stories. Specifically, Corina mentioned this earlier, as far as like different classmates having different opinions on how they wanted to pursue their craft. And I wanted to tell stories that I knew, like the stories of me and my mom in the house, and like the things that were familiar to me, because I saw value in those stories, and I think everyone has value in their own stories, so that's an important thing for y'all to like run with. Like your story is important, it's just as interesting, because I didn't see myself represented through what I was seeing in the mass media.
Right.
If someone was Haitian, the accent and the dialect was awful and was wrong, or Haitians were being portrayed in this negative light. So that I wanted to represent my culture and my city, Miami, authentically. So I'm doing that. That's cool. We're still in the process of doing that. This is just one sliver, one story of Miami. There's so many Miami stories. Yeah.
As far as goals for me, I knew I wanted to stay because I was like intimidated as hell by New York. I knew I was like, I'd rather be a big fish in a small pond, just because I felt like there wasn't, Miami's art isn't really that saturated like it is in New York. So I knew I wanted to stay here. That happened. I did know that eventually, you know, I wanted to start writing some stuff, and then I worked at the Miami Theater Center and got some plays produced, which was awesome. So that happened, and I think the goal was to eventually start paying my bills with. It took a long time. But yeah, that was one of the goals as well. Yeah.
And you?
For me, like them, one of the goals, of course, and like many of you, I'm sure, was to be able to pay my bills with my craft. But something that has really changed throughout from the time I graduated to now has been really finding the value in this industry, in my voice as a woman and as a Latin woman. and learning, and I really invite you ladies here to start thinking about that now, because it was something that I didn't really think about, but the value of what I have to add to stories, like with them or with any other place, because of my sensibility as a woman. And that's so precious and so valuable, and we don't get taught that enough. And so I want to tell you, if it's the first time you're hearing it, to really think about that, what your artistic value is and how much it doubles just for you having a female sensitivity. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about now, and I'm really looking forward to continue to do. I've been blessed to have these colleagues who really push me and really invite me to speak up even more and say, no, yeah, that matters. I want to hear that, you know.
She also keeps us in check.
So it's nice to count on them, but even more as we move through the industry, to keep that in mind and to really be a voice for that is something that has changed since school, but something I'm really passionate about now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello? There's someone here.
You're welcome. I gotta go. Alex needs help. He sends his condolences, though, by the way.
Tell him I said thank you.
If you need anything.
I got you.
So you guys touched on fatherlessness, which is something that a lot of people here can relate to, including myself. And so I'm just wondering, like, for mainly the two men, how did you discover yourself as men when you were, let's say, in like my adolescent age, or like growing out of high school and going into college to be your own man?
Wow.
That's a great question. I'm still discovering what it means to be a man every day, just because I have been, and so many of us are so influenced by what society tells us it means, instead of finding that out for ourselves, even our peers and the ones around us. So, you know, it's a journey of these two characters searching for this identity, but they're both lost, you know, and my character, Wes, imposes it by how much he can show and how much he can show, oh, I'm paying my own bills, or I have all these ladies, and all these things that he thinks is associated with being a man. So I'm constantly finding that. So far, I find the closer I lean toward a love for myself, and a real love for myself. There's layers with that. The closer I become to being a man, because when you really and truly love yourself, that's when you really can love those around you. So yeah, it's a journey.
For me, I think at a surface level, I tussled with that idea for a lot of years. You know, even when I moved out and meeting all the guys and stuff like that, and my entire constitution of what it meant to be a man was like thrown out the window when I got into college, and because there's just all these things that are coming at you, and you know, there was a point where I felt like I would never get a grip, or I didn't have a grip on what it is to be a man. Like, what does that mean, right? I feel like, you know, he touched on it, society has these implications on what it is to be a man, but I kind of threw that out the window to some degree and just learned, like, A, how to love myself, but how to, like, really appreciate, like, the good things that I do, and not to get swallowed, like looking around and watching other people, learning from other people's mistakes. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that, or I'm not gonna do that, or I like that. Any time I meet someone that I admire, I try to walk away with some sort of quality from them, and that is not limited to a man, because I'll tell you right now, you know, there's a lot of gay men in my life and a lot of women in my life, and I've learned more about how to quote unquote be a man from them than like the standard macho, you know, characters. Does that make sense? So,
yeah, I get you.
You know, taking qualities that I like from people really helped me figure out how to not just be a man, but how to be a good human. And through that, because you are a man, then you then become a good man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you.
Perfect.
Completely.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
You need to work. Travail. So you can save the house. Maybe that's it.
Etienne.
Listen. Josette work hard, okay? So Josh work hard, like mother, like son.
Etienne, s'il vous plaît. Pay Bouchot. Be quiet. Trop jeunes petits garçons don't go to school. Joshua make opportunity, attendez? Etienne, pas c'est qu'on.
Ou mais parler
C'est
trop.
pas parler, trop éducation première.
Comment Billy fait payer?
Ça veut dire là,
Hôtel
voilà,
Pal
il va
dormi.
vous-même.
Connais pas.
Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
You guys show a lot of locations, like for example, when you guys are like walking, and it's not like the typical thing you see people in Miami, like for example, you see like a lot of Miami things and they show the beach and they show the things that everybody knows, but there was a lot of these areas like little construction sites, and I was wondering how you guys picked those areas. Did you look for them? Did you think, oh, I know this spot, and like how you think it represented Miami?
Yeah, well, I ride my bike a lot, so I'm in the city in a different way than like in a car. And so a lot of those spots I just had on the top of my mind. But really, aside from the spots, the goal was to do exactly that, to bring us to the Miami that we were familiar with as locals and that you guys are probably more familiar with, and tell that side of the story because it's a prevalent side, it's an important side, and it has value in many different ways. So we wanted to show that side of Miami, and that's what we were doing with those stylistic choices with the walks. And yeah, so those are just kind of on top of my mind. Just ran, found them, and shot them out. Nice. Yeah. Cool.
How does it feel to be, I guess for your greatest work thus far, to be something that is so closely related to each of you and your personalities?
How does it feel?
Mm-hmm.
Therapeutic.
Therapeutic. I feel grateful.
Yeah, I've always had the feeling in New World when I was studying here, because I came like from small town mentality, and I was like all about being. I used to wear these obnoxious big earrings, like I was a different dude from freshman year to senior year, and also my understanding of what it means to be an artist. So I think that journey started there, really in New World, because I realized in becoming an actor, I was growing to become an artist, and that journey was therapeutic in and of itself. The things we do in acting class, the random exercises, like, I cried for the first time in acting class, like, because I was so like bogged up as a man, and what, real men don't cry, whatever all that stuff is. But there was so much release, so much like self-identity and opportunity to really, really just let go and be myself. So that started there, and that allowed us to be like, yeah, let's talk about these issues and explore them through writing. And I'm still learning from these characters, because when we're sitting there in the writing room and we're talking about this character, and somebody's like, yo, Wes is an asshole, and I'm like, that was me, It's
also liberating, I think, to be able to talk again about the lack of representation or proper representation of Latinos and Haitian Americans, and how, growing up my whole life, it was like, oh, this person is Venezuelan, I'm Venezuelan. And it was like, but they speak in a Mexican accent, and that's not right, And so never really seeing yourself, but it feels liberating to be able to speak in my, I've worked also a lot in the Latin industry with Telemundo and stuff, so I had to pretend like I was Mexican for those gigs, And it feels so nice to be able to talk in my own dialect and in Spanish and say my own Venezuelan words. And with them too, for them to be able to speak Creole on screen and be like, this is who we are, and we don't have to pretend that we're something else. It feels really liberating. It also feels like a responsibility that we have as artists, but mostly liberating and exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Buenos días, señora Rosa.
Buenos días.
Ay, qué cuchi. ¿Cómo supo que me gusta comer esto?
¿Tú crees que yo tengo tiempo para hacerte el desayuno a ti, niña?
¿Fui yo?
Coño de la madre.
Surprise.
Thank you.
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué le hiciste?
Quick question. First of all, I love what
You're a
Danny
student
Fernandez.
here as well? You're a student here as well?
Mr. Hoover.
You're a student here as well?
I am. These are my pupils
Student of life.
and my teachers. Quick question. I love what Danny Fernandez did with the lighting and keeping things like natural. But also off of what you were speaking to and what you all spoken to, another aspect I loved was you didn't have subtitles, and I wanted to know what was the choice behind that.
Sure.
That's Miami.
Yeah, that's Miami.
I mean, I'm
Sometimes
sure
you
a
don't
lot
understand when you're in a certain
you
place.
don't.
Like,
I mean, a lot of y'all, I'm sure, coming to New World, y'all go down to that coffee spot down the street to get your espresso, and it's like, you know, you just gotta. That's Miami.
Yeah.
Like
you'll be lost in a place and there's no subtitles in that place, and you kind of have to learn how to get by and keep up and be loving and be a good neighbor to the people around you. And I think that was behind that choice, was to also put the viewer in that place too, because again, going to that authentic Miami vibe, like putting the viewer in what it's like to be in the real Miami, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
Not knowing every language that's spoken here.
And we didn't. I think we did a good job of not putting any like important, crucial plot points, of that. They're just nice little peppery,
Gems.
Garnish to the piece itself. Yeah. And it's also dope to like have a Haitian friend in the room be like, what did he say? That creates a dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, and the person's like laughing, be like, oh, he said this, that, and so that in itself creates
some cultural exchange.
Yeah, cultural exchange, yeah.
Yeah, I love that dynamic when something would be said in Creole and just a few of you would laugh, and then something in Spanish and then a couple of you would laugh, and that's just the real melting pot that Miami is. And we just wanted to, like we spoke about before with your question, just do more of that, not just with what you see, but with what you hear, because Miami is so much what you hear as well. So yeah.
And I appreciate your concern, but I'm not off my rocker, all right? You have nothing to worry about.
Hablando del rey de Roma.
What?
Snosh.
Oh, hey, what's up, man? You met Robin, right?
Yeah. Check me out, brother. You want to roll with me to the towing place? I want to teach yourself getting this whip out.
Where do I come in?
Well, you got a license. I don't, so.
You don't have a license?
What I need a license for, man? I got the jitney. Come on, man. We need you.
Can we be back soon?
Yeah, it's like right there. Come on.
Hey, Robin, I'm gonna take that break. I'll be back soon.
Cool. See you in a bit.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I know that at the end of your senior year, usually the misconception is that you're going to go out there and start landing jobs. And then sometimes artists don't really understand, and that's why bravo to you guys, that you have to create your own work. When did that happen? Did it happen while you were at New World, or did it happen as you guys were going out or working with each other, that epiphany that I can do my own work and it doesn't seem like work?
Yeah. I think when we leave, the fact that I don't know if it's the same for the high school, but for the college, to have to write that one person show before you leave is the perfect way to have to leave the school, because it's the perfect goodbye, because that's the one where we're told you have to write this thing, cater to you, to what you can offer, to your voice, make it. And that's the culmination of the 4 years, and it's such a great way to go out into the world, because at least for me, that was the first time that I thought, oh, I can write something. I can actually write a play. And for me, I can write catering to my abilities. And so I feel like that was the first time that it knocked on my door, thanks to the school. I don't know if I would have ever, or how long it would have taken me to even think of that if it wasn't for that one person show,
Yeah. I agree. I never, ever thought I would write. And because I was like, why would I voluntarily do homework? Like, what, that makes no sense to me. But it wasn't until my aha moment was, I think my first year out, I saw this awful play. I will not say the name of it, but I saw this awful play, and I found out it was a part of the program that Miami Theater Center had, and they give out a grant. And I was like, they paid this man $5,000 to do this? I literally ran home and I said, Edson, we need to write something. They're giving away free money. I was like, I cannot tolerate that. So I was an actor, but I said, well, I gotta hustle. And I knew some of the people there, and I got some information, and I buckled down, and I created a concept and created a draft, and I bought writing books, and I sat my butt down and learned how to write. And then my first full-length show was produced. And they were talking about budgets. I don't have a budget. I didn't know what a budget was. But here I am, asking, my fellow New Worlders to help me with this play that I wrote. And then, all of a sudden there was a review in the Miami Herald, and like people were clapping at something I wrote, and I was freaking out. But it was in that moment where I was like, yo, Miami is a wild west right now. And like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and be like, everybody here is a writer. Maybe you're not, but it's that want, that yearning to want to buckle down and really create something. So whether that's finding partners, how you can help, sitting on a set, doing what you can to really like buckle down and just get it in, get your hands dirty. I think that was it for me, and I'm so happy that happened, because the ability to tell a story and get a genuine response from an audience is something that I will always be fawning over. I mean, it happens on stage as well, but from a writing aspect like that, I foam at the mouth thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that question is twofold with the first thing you mentioned, with wanting to leave school or training and work. And a lot of times for so many actors, it's something that's still being perpetuated today, is success as an artist is deemed by you booking gigs. And that can really destroy you mentally as an artist, because having a healthy perspective of what the journey is can make the journey so much more smoother.
And enjoyable.
And I say that to say, sometimes people go through what they call droughts. It's like, oh, they're going to auditions, they're going to castings, and I'm not booking this, and they sort of have a negative approach or spirit about that. When in fact, for me, I didn't realize I had this, but I look back and I was like, oh, that's what I was going through, is that I understood that that was a part of the process as an actor. Like, your job is to show up and go to a casting. Whether you book it or not is not equivalent to your success. Your job is to go in there, portray this character, become this character, and leave. Forget about it. There's so many factors that has to do with you getting the part. And we saw that firsthand
I was just gonna
while we were
say,
casting.
we got to be the casting directors for the show because we wanted that authentic voice. We wanted the characters to be, Jamaican, Cuban, whatever, and we didn't really trust that to anybody else. We were like, no, we got to be in that room and choose them ourselves. So we did, and that was a real big learning experience as actors too, even though we had all been doing it for some years, to be in the casting room on the other side and say, wow, this person is so freaking good. Can't cast them. It's not right for the part, but it's so good. And I wish there was time, to be able to call everyone and tell them, you are so good. Please keep going. Don't take this no as a don't keep going. You're so good. You lit up the room, whatever. It's not about that. So it's like, what Edson was saying. It's about going and having fun, and then eventually maybe that will lead to something else, or maybe not. But it will definitely lead to your growth as an artist and your growth as an actor. So
also just one thing you can kind of run with in every audition, every casting, is that, look, when you walk in that room, the people sitting there want you to be good. So they're actually on your side. So many people walk in there with this notion of like, oh man, all right, they're against me, I gotta be good. They're trying to see what I'm doing wrong. But like, you walk in there, people are excited, hoping that you're great. So if you can walk in there with that confidence and let go of all the other garbage that really doesn't help you do anything, it'll drastically change the way you approach your career and your journey.
Preach.
Bleeding? Oh, I'm sorry. Get this shit away from the sofrito, please. Sorry.
Where the hell have you been?
And why are you late? Madness. Absolute madness. Sometimes things aren't so black and white, 1 minute you think that you understand right from wrong, but then your whole fucking world gets thrown into a blender, and then boom! A new smoothie?
English, Papo.
Long story short, Wes needed help helping Monteith. So we went to the towing place, and these assholes wouldn't give up the car. So we took it. It was Monteith's car, and technically it's not stealing because, it's his belongings, but and the government, claims a plot of land, they slap on a parking ticket, and then take your property. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, we Ocean's 11 that shit.
Wait, so why are you bleeding?
Battle scars.
What?
Well, Wes asked us to jump the fence, so Monteith and I went into the lot, got inside the car, and rode the fuck out! That shit was wild.
Josh, you just stole a car.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of writing, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them?
Sure. Well, the script went through so many different drafts. And we talked about writing for 3 years, right? Didn't take us 3 years to write 8 episodes. Like, it took us a couple months, really. But then when people read them, and then we had table reads and the new drafts, the journey is really in rewriting, right? Josh likes to always say.
Yeah, Michael McKeever, shout out to him wherever you're at.
Writing is rewriting.
Also long ago, he's like, Josh, writing is rewriting. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, why do I not have it the first draft? What? No, But yo, when you getting in there and like you're just shredding away the fat, and I want to say the biggest obstacle to answer one of your questions is that I really understood the power of writing when we got to pre-production. And pre-production is when your production managers are like, hey, these 70 locations you have, yeah, we no money for that. Or, you know, it's not going to be logistically sound. So then we had to go through a phase of like, not even because we wanted to, we had to get rid of characters and all this stuff. And that in itself for me made me realize that the scene is about this, not about all this. It's about what's happening here, what do they want, and it was so simple. And that really grounded me of like, oh man, like what is it that the scene is about? So that in itself was, you know, biggest obstacle for me was pre-production. Yeah. But it wasn't a bad obstacle. And then slowly by slowly, you start realizing that when you free yourself up, the piece gets loose, and then actors, when they get the pages, they can have fun with the words, because it's not so, you're not trying to cram like a whole monologue when it's just one word can do the job, you know?
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, don't be too precious. Sometimes it's our idea, and sometimes we make that draft, and sometimes it takes us forever to finish a draft because we want it to be perfect on the first draft. I love the fact that I get that, because now I spit out garbage trash on my first draft. But I get 25 pages, and I'm like, all right, I know it's not gonna be that, but because I let go of that, I'm able to just put whatever, just let it spew and let it come out.
To comment on that, Stephen King, in his book on writing, said that your first draft, you need to tell the story to yourself. So like, screw an audience. Like, you literally need to understand what your story is. Right. So we get this frustration out of those first few drafts when we don't even know what the story is. So how are you mad that you haven't written a story when you don't know the story? So when you approach it in that way, whether it's just, whether it's making the decision, I'm going to write garbage, and that's your decision, or I'm gonna tell myself a story, you win anyway. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that answers your question, right? Yeah?
I don't want to harp on
Second question, did this help you with acting? If so, how, like writing and all this, did it help you, and if so, how?
Yes, especially, again, going back to that casting room and being like, oh, this scene, no one's making it work, so the writing is not working. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you have 20 actors come in and the scene is still not working, it's like, it can't be the actors. It can't be that all 20 of them don't get it. It has to be that we wrote something funky.
Table reads helped us out with that.
Table reads help. And then also as an actor too, it helps to know, I mean, it depends on the writer too, but it's nice to be able to read something and make it sound like it's coming from you. Sometimes writers don't mind if you change the words a little bit, some do, but even, that's not even the point. The point is that learning to make it sound like you, I feel like that writing really helps, because if you're writing for yourself and you write it and then you say it and it sounds like that's not how I talk, then you know that you shouldn't have written it that way, you know?
A small lesson I learned was that, you know, there was a point where we had to let go of the scripts. Like, we all had to become actors, directors, like we were done being writers. And then when I picked back up the script as an actor, I was like, damn, I wrote that. Like, it's like super emotional scene that was fun to write, and now I'm like, oh damn, and it was a profound connection, because these were, you know, our words, and we had deliberated them, we had talked about them. Like, for me, I had to let go of like fear to just jump in. So you know, I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity to act my own words, but it's like, you know, really, and then it goes back to it, like connecting to what the scene is really about, and getting back to the basics. It's so funny how we take Uta Hagen and all that stuff for granted, but that's really...
She the truth.
She the truth. That really what saves you at the end. A lot of acting is no dialogue.
Yeah.
For real.
Really quick, so casting, we learned so much from the casting process, what not to do. Yes. I mean, we thought we knew, but then some people walked in that room was just being ridiculous.
Dude that yelled at me?
Yeah, don't suck up. Just come in there, do the work, and bounce. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like I mean that in the most loving way. I mean that your work is enough. You don't need to be like, yo, start talking about other stuff, complimenting people. Like you're just, I don't know. So we learned a lot of what not to do in that experience.
Be nice to everyone, by the way. Everyone.
But not because they're anyone, but just because you want to be a nice person.
Yes.
Right? And along with, I had the opportunity to direct the episode, so that was really cool because Josh would come to me sometimes with some of those things. Yo, can we change this? Because I don't like the way I wrote it. And so that was also free, and letting go of the script was really enjoyable. The Monteith character, there were so many times I was like, I just do what you want. Just do what you want. Like you get what's happening between these two characters. You get what's their through line, what they need, what the other person doesn't want to give them. Go, fly. And letting your work be elevated by the actors as well was freeing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
you. I'm a very proud Haitian, and I'm
sensitive
to my culture. Yo, Haiti. I was wondering, in the middle of your process of adding Haitian culture and things about us, did you feel like it was risky? Did you feel concerned about how other people would feel about us?
Well, well, I'll speak for myself. I didn't feel risky, but I'm usually someone who's just pushing the boundary. I'm like, I don't care, deal with it. But
True.
But yeah, I don't know where I got that from. So because of that, I realized in pitch rooms, so we pitch the show out. So for some people, it's so hard to tell a story that is unique. They're like, oh, they're telling the story. Oh, this character goes through this, or a story about this so-and-so, meeting this so-and-so, going through this. And so many people are like, yeah, I heard that story before. But every time I would be like, oh, it's a story about two Haitian Americans, it was like, oh, that doesn't exist. So in and of itself, it was an opportunity. The fact that no one really knew authentically what our culture, and I feel like there's so much more to it. We're just grazing the surface, right? And also through a man's perspective. And so I hope some Haitian women come up and do something. But really, I saw it as an opportunity to put something out there, not only on the Haitian front, on the Latin American front, on the Miami front, to encourage other creatives to be like, oh, they're just talking about their abuela in the kitchen? Oh, I'm talking about my abuela in the kitchen. So to know that their story's enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just gonna encourage more work like that. And so I wasn't really like hesitant about, oh, if you're worried about what people think,
Gotta go.
you're gonna have to do something else. Because, I mean, fortunately enough, I'm not on social media and stuff, so I ignore the noise of the world. But like, people can be like, if anybody follows basketball, like what J.R. Smith is going through right now, like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody got an opinion.
Yeah.
And so if you're worried about what people think or dictated by what people think, you're gonna have a hard time in the world, period, let alone as an actor, where you're standing on stage and being like, look at me. And so, yeah.
To piggyback off of that, like he said, it was like, oh, we've never heard of that. I was never really scared because I was just like, everything about specifically the Haitian culture, Latin culture, like they're gems.
Yeah.
Like they're gems. One of the craziest things when I first moved in with him, I was never really like too proud or involved in my Haitian culture because the people that I knew back in the day were like, the hood dudes and they weren't my idea of what it was to be Haitian. But it wasn't until I met like, Edson and others, like young Haitian people that are like super about it, like life and creating and all that stuff. And I realized we had a lot of overlap. And I was like, my mom did that too. He's like, your mom did that? I was like, yeah, my mom did that. And it was like, what? Then all of a sudden, all these gems that we had, I was like, yo, this is great. So uniqueness, or, as I think they taught us here, is generality is the killer of all art. So why not be specific?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Love.
Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to another episode of T-Boy B305. Come on.
Joshua, why all day you talk to the computer?
You gotta feed the followers, Mom.
Follow?
Yeah, no, feed the followers. They follow me.
Joshua, follow yourself, baby. Don't follow those vagabonds in the street, Joshua.
Mom, I'm not a vagabond, Mom. Can we just do the hospital for me, please?
I guess.
Okay. All right. Yo. All right. Spit it, Mom. How long you had the flu?
Too long, nigga.
How long in ICU? How long they been cleaning your poop?
Too long, madam.
Hey. Okay. So I wrote here. I know I personally struggle with scrapping projects before they're done because I don't like the way they look, whether it's like the camera quality or the mic quality or like the written quality. So how do you deal with like finishing projects that you want to get out there but you're just too scared of because they look bad?
Finish it.
Just
Yeah, how do I do that?
Just finish it. You know what it is? If you focus on not the end result. I struggle with that a lot too because I'm a perfectionist. So I'm like, oh, I'm not letting anyone read this until it's perfect, or I'm not letting anyone see it, stuff like that. But the more you relinquish that and realize that it's not about the end result, because really it's not. Maybe you finish it and it is going to be bad, but it doesn't matter because it's going to lead you to the next one. And you can only get better if you get to the next one. You know, if you just leave it at that and it's unfinished and unseen, then it's not really going to move you forward. You know, I think just really letting go of the need for it to be perfect or the need for it to look perfect or feel perfect, and really just embracing it for what it is. You know, like, hey, it's not perfect. It looks shitty, or sorry, it looks crappy. Whatever. The writing's not the best. Just doing it. You know, just having it out. Because that alone will build your confidence in that, hey, I put something out that was bad and I didn't die. Like, it's fine, you know? Artistically or personally, I didn't die. It was fine, I'm good, like I can do it again. And then you take even more risks because you're like, oh, I didn't die that time, I'm gonna take a bigger risk this time and see what happens, you know? So just finish it.
Yeah, I find everything that you do and everything that you put out is an opportunity for you to learn and grow. And there are things, there's many projects I got that maybe someone's like, oh, I love that part. And I'm like, ugh. Like, I wish it didn't exist. But that, there is growth in that. And if that doesn't exist, there is an opportunity for me to learn from it. And the next thing I do, I'm not gonna make that same mistake. And I'm gonna grow and continue to grow. But if every time I don't let it go, then me, myself, I'm not growing. So, think about your own.
We made a movie that was really awful together, and we
why you
finished it
gotta
all the
do
way.
that?
I'm just saying, so that you know, because a lot of the times you see people and you see that they finished something, and it's going one way, and you think, wow, they probably never did something that was horrible or whatever. We had.
First of all, it wasn't horrible.
It was pretty bad. We didn't show it to anybody. But we did, and we finished it. We scored it and everything. Oh, wow. Even though we already knew and were well aware that it was not very good.
Because you have to have something to look at, right?
Yeah.
You have to. Like, wait, Ron Swanson said, don't half-ass anything, just whole-ass one thing.
Yeah. Take it to the end.
Take it to the end.
And can I ask a follow-up that's really short? How do you go about sharing those things?
It depends on what it is.
Oh my goodness, this day and age, sharing? That's
Sharing's
so easy, right?
Hashtag it.
What do you mean specifically by sharing? Just getting it out there in front of people?
Yeah, getting it out there.
Well, first, I would encourage you to share with the people around you that you value their artistic perspective and their artistic approach. So like peers, like teachers, because then you can get that information and then they can grow you, like getting those notes, artistic notes, where they have concepts on scenes, on structure. And then it's always great. Like I have some homies that I like to show my stuff because they're not so highbrow or intellectual. They're just like, yo, that shit ain't funny, bro. But that's enough. Like, that's all I need. Because everyone that sees my work is not going to be this person that went through 4 years of college as an art major. So I'd say go closely to those peers who you respect their artistic approach and their artistic values. Then obviously you just put it out there in the world on YouTube and things like that.
Depending on what it is, there is a treasure trove of programs, competitions, workshops, residencies. There's a lot of people out there that want content, that are looking for content, that want you to build content. We've applied to dozens of stuff. We didn't get in, but guess what? We have the contact of that person. And then, we have something else. Hey, let's hit that person up again. So you have to kind of go through do your own personal research and kind of work within your own ecosystem, but don't be afraid to literally just throw it out there.
And that's another thing. Half of my life growing up, research was like, yo, library, books. Y'all got Google. Like, come on. Like,
y'all heard of that, right?
Literally anything you want to know. Like, I'm a student of DIY a lot when it comes to film. Like, I went to New World for performance arts, not film, right? So like everything I know from film.
University of YouTube right here.
I learned from the internet, straight up. And I just read a lot, watched a lot of tutorials, like this 9-year-old teaching me how to edit something. But yeah, really, go into Google.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yes.
Since you've left New World, you've gained a lot of professional experience, real world experience. If you could go back in time to your New World student self, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Ooh. Don't take school for granted. Don't take what you have here for granted. Oh, I know. It sounds so cheesy, but it's so true because it's a sacred space that you have here to explore and to create and to learn and to really soak up. Like the beauty of having a movement class every other day or every day.
For real?
She didn't know that.
He didn't pay me to say this. He didn't pay me to say this.
Thank you.
But really, the beauty of having a movement class and a speech class and all of that at your fingertips is you're gonna miss it when you're not in school anymore. I wish every day I'm like, where is my movement class? And I'll go to places to try to feed myself in that way. But while I was here, I loved it, but I didn't realize how much I was gonna miss it after school. And then the second thing would be to really treasure the friends and the people that you bond with creatively here, because that's what happened with us. You know, we found each other here in this creative space and then continue to build our work. And we have so many plans for the future together and have done so many things in the past, and that all started here, you know? So really take advantage of that.
Yeah, you guys won't get it till you get in the real world.
You really won't.
Unfortunately, like someone's over here being like, go that way, and you're not listening, but
maybe some will.
Maybe some will. But yeah, I just want to say, listen to what she said. That's it.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, because it may get crazy after that. Thank you so much for coming and giving your time and talents back to us. To New World, yes.
Hey, wait, I want to say something. Yeah. Wait just a second. Real quick. Real quick, I want to emphasize that Miami Works, seeing ourselves represented authentically is so important. And I'm sure from the responses and some of the questions you guys asked that you feel the same way. But that's only possible if we together as Miamians, as artists, support the Miami Works. So that's really important. So beside if you weren't feeling it, fine, whatever, you don't have to support it. But if you like what you see and you're interested, I want to please encourage you to follow us on social media.
@Complex Grown.
Yeah.
That's everywhere, IG, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah.
IG, Twitter, Instagram.
And follow, and watch the show. You know, we'd love to hear opinions, and you can watch the show at complex.com.
But tell your parents first, because there's a lot of stuff
it's spicy.
They might not want you to watch. I'm just saying, Patrice wouldn't.
Yeah, true.
We didn't tell you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
So much.
Picture time.
Picture time.
Yeah, sure. We got one.